Hello everyone, and welcome to my painting demonstration session where I paint and you can just watch and enjoy, sit back, and perhaps if you wish, maybe do your own version or section of your own version. Maybe get some colors and make some varieties of color options. So today I have picked up a photograph I've taken while in Scotland, and we have a gorgeous friend, my friend's dog, a Welsh collie called Tasman. So I'm interested to paint the portrait um, together with the environment. I'm interested to see how both the dog and the landscape are linked together. Now, I picked up a dark violet background for the painting, so I can build up on some highlights and look for positive, negative spaces as I'm building up. Also, there are loads of darkness on the dog's coat, on the rocks. So I think that will be a good help for getting the paintings laid, how it will be laid out, how it will be built up. Now on my palette, I have white, cadmium yellow, ochre, orange, crimson, violet, and some black. And I also have a couple of blues, phthalo blue, and ultramarine. I'm going to start with using a runny, dark acrylic and black combination, but quite runny. I want to see a little bit of violet in this mixture, but overall, when I'm sketching, this is my sample little piece. I want to see the line. One of the aspects of composition today, so I have got this lovely photograph, but I think I would like to move the shape of the dog just a little bit across towards the right. I think that will be will give us more view in the front, at the front where she's looking. It might give her that extra connection. So that's my initial thought. It doesn't have to be moved, the shape of the dog doesn't have to be moved all the way to the side, but perhaps just a little bit, kind of a third, if we divide the picture into 2/3, maybe just a little bit further. So I'm ready to start sketching. So perhaps I'll first find an approximate space for horizon. Okay. Why I'm saying approximate, because I want to see the shape of Tasman being a little bit. I need to decide if the head and the ear will be overlapping that line or just being just tiny bit below. I don't want it to be just on the edge of the head. So I'm going to plan that one shortly. So let's have a look at the rocks here. That's beautiful Scottish loch. Quite like that sharp diagonal. Okay, so we've got some lovely light. Okay. And I might pick up a larger brush and sketch with a shape. Okay. So if I were to plan the body of Tasman, okay, might be easier to see that shape all together. Okay, so where, let's see if that's going to be a bit more closer. I want to see the whole body, head. I'm thinking of proportions first, an approximate volume. Okay. Oh, okay. Oops. Tiny bit more. Maybe the head will be slightly bigger. So just checking those shapes. She's got quite a lovely fluffy coat. Working extremely well with all the environment here. Okay. And where the head is overlapping. Wow. Another spaces. Okay. Four. Perhaps a little bit even enlarged in size, but I think that will be only an extra benefit. I just look for some extra shadows for shapes of the shadows. Okay, and perhaps just a little more volume here. Okay. Just double checking other shadows here. Let's go down a bit higher. Okay. Right. So she's almost investigating, leaning forward, looking out for her adventure. Okay. Right, and let's have a look at the darkness in the landscape as well. Let's connect those shapes together and also see what the adjustments I need to make the landscape to balance quite a dark, large shape here. Okay, maybe there will be some lovely darkness within the rocks. Okay, I need to have those lovely grasses. It's a lovely volume. It's almost like a V shape of the shadow developing here. I'll connect here. Okay. Quite like some of these rocks. Perhaps some of them will be more extended into this area. So when I'll bring some of the lights of the rocks, that might happen there. And then we've got a lovely island. Again, I just need to think how the land. So I think I'm going to bring the land just a little below here. Maybe just the tip of the ear, maybe just the tip of the ear. Just drop the land a little higher, those mountains at the top. Okay, it's lovely blue. And the tallest shape will be somewhere here. Okay, I'm interested again into some shadows. I think that would be good. And the darker island in the lock. I'd rather not put anything in front of the dog here, otherwise it will start competing it with its nose. I think I'll put a nice reflection of the mountains. I think that will work well. But those darker shapes. Of the protruding rocks. That might be just a tied out, so we're seeing them slightly higher than perhaps normal. Okay. Now it's a little bit reflecting here for you to see it well. I think that gives us an opportunity to overall see the shapes of that. Right, and now let's have a look at some of the light, some immediate light, which could be done with a sponge. So I have a glove I can put. I've got my sponge, which I'm going to soak in and then rinse really, really well. Dry my hand a little and straight away start loading some light, some white with some phthalo blue, perhaps for some blocks of the sky you might see, and some ultramarine for some, just want to offset some darker lights. Okay, I've got that lovely blue mountain here. Okay, as a block for now, has that lovely block of blue connecting it at the same time. It's slightly different. And let's pick up some paler blue, perhaps a dab of violet with it. And let's see how an overall light color will come to the sky. Okay, a big block of tone. You can subdivide it into some lighter shapes. Okay, with a small dab of ochre, just to have a little warmth. So start interacting with our blues. Okay, and just want to have just something a little bit grayish in color, and ochre and violet with a dab of blue gives me that range of warmth and coolness at the same time, having quite a neutral darkness. So I'm just blocking that light first. I want to establish some of my heights of the mountains. I want to see them, the peaks. Okay, and I also want to see some of that color, but perhaps a tone darker in the water reflection. And that will give me a bit more of a shape of the dog's profile. Okay. As a quick blocking. I think I picked up a little bit accidental color, bit of black by accident. I'll cover it up if not immediately, eventually, as the color will dry. Yeah, maybe a little bit too much space taken, shape taken from the silhouette of Taz. Okay. We go, some of that is blocking done. So now let's pay attention. It's not quite a straight line, but it's giving me more of understanding. Also, there will be more colors for reflection from the mountain. So far, it's quite a very quick investigation. Right, so let's work a little more into the clouds. As the paint is gently drying, it's good as well to have that lovely gentle warmth to the cloud, but also much more stronger change of tone. Okay, so I'm gently adding up that white as it's settling or drying or partially staying wet. Perhaps another larger stroke somewhere here. Still got a tiny bit of black somewhere. Okay, and anything a little bit more subtones, much more softness of tones here, a little bit too blocky on the side. So let's build up that tonal variation. Only small changes of darkness are needed. To make that depths. Okay. Yeah, I think this sponge is a little bit too big for that scale, but I'll do a tiny bit more with it. Ready for softer changes. Okay, I can use the side of my sponge to blend the colors or partially lift the colors. That's quite nice again. So perhaps something similar darkness. I think it's reflecting here, so that's why it's harder to see the actual shape. All I'm seeing is textures of the strokes rather than the actual color. And here I can see the color fully. Okay, so let's see how that shape could come. Mhm. And perhaps a little subtones. Some places we want extra sharpness, and some places we want just that extra softness of the tone, or how the blend from one shape or one color is happening. Because I could have slightly lighter corner somewhere here. Just as disappears that light, blends. Okay, that's good. I've got a lovely cloud coming over that mountain. Maybe a little bit smaller or a bit more of a depth there. And I think with a brush, I can do some highlights there after. Sometimes those big shapes of reflective surfaces I've done better straight away. Not sure if I like this shape. I think the reflection and the islands might come in later on. I think if I'll approach the whole shape together here. Okay, I think that will be better. the cleaner sponge to work around the open mouth here. Again, perhaps too small details for my sponge. So if I leave the whole shape first, can work the details a bit more. But while I've got this lovely lightish tones for the sky, I can also work a little more into the rocks. So if I use some ochre and violet and some extra white, and so give me that. They need to be darker than the water. No, I haven't done the water full strengths of light, but it still will need to be darker. It's the more exposed rocks, which is lighter. I think that's where I'll add this tone. And also a small amount of ultramarine still. Okay. Just make the body a little. Okay, she just slipped off suddenly. Let's get that body back. Okay. I think I am missing a little bit of volume. Okay, perhaps with the shape of the coat color, it will work a little better. Okay, and slightly darker tone for those protruding rocks against the water. I think that will be good. A little extra warmth. A tiny bit more darkness. Very small changes. How much of that rock we want to see against the water. And I will come back to the light of the water quite quickly as well. And let's see some of the shadows as well. And that rock, just adding a gentle darkness by using dab of black with my blue and violet. And I think that darkness could come to support the lighter coat, perhaps. It's quite nice darknesses there. Okay. Also need to build up some nice tones. Close to Tasmin. So then her coat could have a little shine I think that's where that shine will come in. Just again, just touch up the tweak and that silhouette. It's just a bit more leaning forward here. Okay. Good. And if I were to use more ultramarine and ochre, I'll have a darkness for my grasses. Maybe a tiny bit of red with it. Let's just give a little stronger silhouette of the green. Just want to have that block of darkness. Oops. Gently mingling with some of the rocks to see some of that shadow here as well. Okay. Okay, maybe this rock will look darker because I'm going to lighten up the colors for the water. Okay. And some lighter greens. And just need a little extra white. Little extra ochre. Perhaps even a bit of phthalo blue. It will be giving me a bit stronger green. And I want to have, not just green, I want to have some little extra ochre and orange present within the grasses colors. Bit too light, I think. Can build up that green better. Just the connection of colors for now. Maybe even some of the seaweed stain on the rocks might have a similar orange and pink shade of color. A little bit more pinkish. Get a little too light now. That's why I need to wait for the rocks to dry. But it is quite exciting to test the color as you mix it. Okay, it is a little bit too light here. Yeah. Darkness and to be back as well. And the greens. Okay, I'm gonna have some more and more exciting lights and highlights shortly. Let's just bring some of that color across into the mountains. Okay, a little too dark, so let's put a dab of white before the ochre. I think the brushes will be coming to finish off the rest of the area. I'll do some big drags of color. Maybe just painting over the ear. Some paler tones for the highlights. Okay, a bit too strong. Yeah, I want some light there, but that is too strong. That sponge work is a little heavy. Need a larger surface to work with the larger strokes. I think the color is a little too strong as well. Maybe there's more pink, and maybe I need to build up the color gently coming to that, perhaps starting with partially violet in color samples first, and then as it dries build up the layers of light. Okay, I've got a little bit of the connection of light, but not too much yet. Okay, so quite a dull still in light and color picture. I'm going to do a little bit of color on the dog and with a sponge, and then I'll start moving on using the brushes. So I'll go for some white, orange, the lovely violet, which will work with it, and some red. What a beautiful foxy like color, to make sure it's opaque enough. Okay, I'll go tiny bit darker color first. So now I've got my light tone. I'll go one slightly darker and start working into some big shapes. Can use my sponge to make subtones. I'm almost painting what's dark, what's light first. Still, as I've worked out the most dark tones, I'm still working into tones, but now into the medium darknesses. Shapes of medium darkness. Okay. I think the transparency of my paints is less effective, gives the painting less effective feel. Maybe the brushes will be given a little more justified. Colors, especially for small surfaces. Okay. Just a quick block. Okay, let's get rid of super dark shadows. Okay, that's too light. So something in between. But some of the darkness need to be there. Now in comparison to the landscape, the dark need to have a much more sharper contrasts. The softer and the larger they become, the more abstract shape I'm painting, when we need to have much more connection. Okay. Definitely smaller brush now. Need to be coming here. Something a tiny bit more lighter here first. So that single pore is not, and it's Okay, that shadow could be done bigger again. Working on that boldness of the color. I think I'm trying to do too many things in one go here. The color, the fluffiness of the code, the tones, and little effects of the sponge. Sometimes working excitingly and sometimes just spoiling everything too much. And also diluted color on the sponge dries differently. Okay. Right, let's leave the sponge now. And let's pick up a brush. Right, while the coat of the dog is drying, I'm going to shape it with the colors from the back. Want to see some light at the back. So I'm going to paint some more of the water, starting with some paler blues. I'm using some white and ultramarine. Okay, I just have a little range of colors here, so I'll slowly start eating away the shapes. So the dog will start slimming off and start having a little more contrast against its coat. That's when my decisions will come in, how much of light we'd want to see. I'm going to use a little similar light to create some of the just very basic initial connection to light. It's the wrong color, but it will have a better tone. And it will have a little bit of that reflection of the sky and the clouds within that area. Okay, some more pressure blue. Let's find a little more about the horizon. It's not going to be continuous light line, but it will have its strength. Okay, maybe it will blend into softer shade of blue and also into the color of the water reflection. So perhaps even this light could be used, edited later. This is more setting the rocks. Let's see how it dries as well. So that white is a bit more diluted. And soften. And give it a moment to dry. Seeing how the shapes will settle in not wash. Okay. So the lines need to be straightened for the horizon. Okay. Some extra color on the water. Using some of my warm colors, my ochre, my orange, my red, bit of extra white. For the dark, I'm using the orange, the crimson, and violet. So a little bit extra orangey look, but again, I will settle the colors as they start drying. Can overlap them. A little more violet, but that light within the color is still giving us a glow of warmth against the green. Mhm. Little drugs of color. And also I'm going to use clean brush to blend this color. And even use a sponge to soften and drag the color along. Having some sharp borders to disappearing edges. These colors will dry slightly darker as well, so I just need to be a bit more patient. With that. Some of that light will get some support on the grasses. Diluting some palette green color, which is partially dried, and mixing it with my light orange colors. I know it's not going to dry the same light, so it allows me to just continue to experiment. Okay, the tones slowly start coming through. Let's again have a look at the coat of Tasmin. Just worked a little bit more on the shape of the dog, on the fluffy coat, working a bit more into between the light and darks, mixing some of the range of colors. So now I'm establishing its silhouette against the water, and can start bringing some of the colors similar to the coat, and perhaps in light, perhaps not always in the same color, but perhaps in certain highlights, bringing it to the landscape. So using a smaller brush, going to bring some of the warmth on the grasses, and start having some connection as well to some of the distant mountains. So best thing to do is to have a light tone available, but pre-mix a slightly darker tone, so then that light tone could be added quite quickly afterwards. So I really like the highlights on the dog's chest, so a little darker tone, just making sure it's not overly blonde first. So that orangey color I'm just going to increase within my grasses. I think it's dried lovely, but perhaps not strong enough for that light. So let's find the pattern of it. Perhaps also find some light across. And also how that color is going to link to our greens. Perhaps lighter versions on a flatter surface. Need to get some light building up. So I'm back to emerald green and some ochre, emerald green, a bit of yellow and white. Okay, so just mixing some of my greens. Maybe using some phthalo blue and a bit of yellow might give me a stronger green. I want that variety of color. Okay, and that lighter tone as well coming up. That's why that connection to the light in the chest of Tasman will be quite exciting. And my darker greens will slowly start receding. mixing ultramarine and orange. Okay, so that area is much more settled now with greens. We'll need to soften the colors of the rocks as well, but that's it could be done a similar way, so let's get a little more shapes done here, worked and done. Let's bring that lighter green above again. As acrylics drying, it gives me more understanding of where to work. The lovely orangey lights might start coming back a bit more brighter. All shapes are a little damp. Okay, and perhaps bring some of the orange reds. Quite a slow process of mingling the colors in comparison of the big strokes working with a sponge. I think I want a little pale pink just to cool off some of those shapes. It's more of a highlights rather than bold yellow or red flowers. It's more of them light we want to see from some of the dry grasses. Okay. Right, and let's come back to the rocks. Using some of this palette color and a little bit of blue. I want to find some of the in between tones tiny bit more light on, so that's a bit too light. I like them hint of pink or purple in this blue. So let's add a tiny bit more rather than just blue. Also, my grasses ended up being a bit perfect in lines, so I might change that angle of them. And add subdivisions of tones. Okay, so it's a little too light. I think that will be okay by the time it's all dry. A bit too similar patterns of darks, so let's um, okay, maybe a little bit lighter, very gentle light. Let's create texture on our stone. So we can create texture by painting darkness, dark little crevasses, and then light and darker imperfections, the rock texture. Or we can paint a lighter color and letting the eye finishing that texture for us. Okay, and still touching it up. Little flats of those rocks. I'm squinting my eyes, trying to see the shapes. Here, I think I might add more light to the water. Or perhaps some lighter rocks. Maybe soft for now. Maybe a little more sharpness later. Just checking that heat of the grass is less dominant as color, but maybe more reflective light, a little extra gray. Something I'm still working out here. But the build-up of colors is always part of that process. Okay. Right, I think I'm ready for doing some reflections of the mountains. And perhaps lightening some of the mountains as well. So, some fresh white and ochre, a little bit of orange. And just check that color again against the existing light. So if I wanted extra sharper light, best to work with what I already have. And top it up with something extra. That's lovely. That's a lovely, exciting light. Need to have some soft edges for it as well as some sharp. So my sponges coming in there. Perhaps a little hint of that light could come here as well. Maybe a little stretch of. Okay, that's not strong enough. Tiny bit more stronger paint. Mhm. Maybe a little balance of that light to touch the light coming from behind the cloud, and it might be somewhere else here. Gives me a beautiful sense of heavy clouds and then sudden light. A lovely impression there. And let's bring it a little extra here in the water. Bringing some light, but also a little darkness of the green. So instead of the gray now, let's add the correct color. Intensity as well. Intensity of dark, but I do want to keep some of them lighter tones as well. Bit of both, bit of a blend. Okay, the darkness could continue. Okay, maybe less. Okay, but a little bit more green. Let's bring it a little bit more close to doggy. So then we can offset that light on her forehead. Same time, want to have softness of that color merging with other shapes and keeping it a little more flat. Getting that darkness. I like that intensity, but I need more flatter shape for it. Okay, let's see how that dries. Perhaps a little bit of smudge of light will come into that as well. Considering putting now one of those islands, little protruding rocks. I can always wipe it off. Perhaps somewhere smaller shape. Okay, and their reflections as well. And a bit more darkness, it's at the base. And a little extra light with some ochre as part of the rock colors changes. There is a bit of seaweed. Settling around the area. Okay, and then I can paint a shape of the reflection. Nice, sharp. Yeah, that's better. It's quite nice. Just gives it a little extra connection. Maybe little hints of seaweed and the water receding, or maybe the opposite, the water is coming up. I think it's more softer receding. It adds sharpness to the painting. It adds a little sharpness to kind of volume of details. I can also then use similar darks. A little more braver on the rocks, because now I can compare those textures on the water. Okay, maybe a little less stripy. I want to add tones and textures, not too overwhelmed. They're not like grasses with that big range of line. Okay. So continuing to shape my rocks. It is reflecting for me from the angle I'm looking. So I'm constantly checking, leaning away. Okay. I think these rocks are slightly too similar in texture and too soft. So let's simplify them and let's just work into them. In the light I can see it better. So let's shape up the silhouette again. And that's just simplification of that is already better. Is already much better. Just develop those shadows again. While they're drying, I want to add more light to the water on the right hand side. Maybe a little bit more fresh blue even. And a little bit of fresh blue. because this side of the water does need light. And so we can reflect our clouds, come close to the coat. Okay, and as it's softening further in the distance, maybe I can even add a little more fresher white. Somewhere here, it's not perfectly fresh, but just drags that light, connects it with other shapes of light, and gives stronger impact. Distance, okay, just to show the water line. Yeah, that's again immediately gives me the feel of the water in between those shapes. Same, I'll do a little bit more here. And just double check that it's dry. Some of that paler, partially diluted white could come. Over. It's quite nice. Sometimes a little line, and sometimes even a sponge smudge. Yeah. Softens the water. And perhaps a little bolder white. Because we've got some good contrasts of darkness. Maybe this white will have a little ripple effect. Of dotted light. Just want to follow through some of the fresher white, perhaps from the clouds, perhaps from extra boldness of it. Very exciting. And that extra boldness could come now on my cloud as well. So I prepared it with a sponge. And again, the sponge could give me the final finishing touches, smudging those whites, much more softer. And the depth of the white becomes much more significant. Mhm. Not that powerful light, but that stormy weather is there. So apply some white to remain and some white to be an extra color for smudging. Okay. Let's soften this section. Okay. Not any more highlights on the dog's coat. I think just this off-white, almost a little grayish light from the clouds color might come effective, especially if it's connecting to the light. Yeah, just only small amounts, maybe little reflective surfaces. And more unified strokes at the back. Okay, maybe a little bit too much. See if I can do a little smaller volume. Maybe this light will connect. Mhm. Okay, right. And finally, let's touch up now some of the rocks here. They started to dry, and perhaps soften some of the greens at the back, so they're no longer all in a very dark shade. So back to a little bit of oak and green. I'm mixing one of my blues, or maybe both of the blues. So if we've got subtones for the light, we also need subtones for our other colors. Want to see how it's will dry. Maybe it's still needs extra light. And sometimes that watery surface is not strong enough to show the potential. Maybe it is too strong for this area. So just constant checking one tone against another. maybe a little more subtone of, okay, that's too light. Suddenly the depth of the shadow has disappeared. So one thing is to repaint, and another thing I could have just taken it off with a sponge or tissue. Maybe something in between, a little light, but also a little shadow. I think I need a little light violet. Almost like a purple, warm purple tone. Still checking the colors here. What the fresher blue. Have a nice contrast. And I think this violet is a little strong. So partially removing it. So it's ongoing process, small changes, evaluation. Stepping away, making a decision. Mhm. Okay, maybe similar, a little light effect, touching that corner. And then we've got a couple of silhouettes of distant mountains. It's a better view of the valley now. Got more leading light, more interesting to stay, have a little focus. Okay, at the same time, a little bit lost and found as well. Good. I have worked a bit more into the rocks and just changed some of the details of the grasses, got a bit more volume of it now. I'm going to have some final touches perhaps on the rocks, using some diluted white, and just want to do a little bit of dry brushing just to have tiny bit of sharpness to some of the, maybe a little glimpses of light, just a little drag off the brush to show perhaps that light is just catching on some of the corners, couple of areas here and there. Now let's also make the connection with the water, some highlights on our Tazi. Okay. So I have speeded up a little bit of the process. So I haven't fully recorded all the stages, but at least you can see the final outcome, and how that development continues through the work. So I really enjoyed looking through the lights, some beautiful warmth of the mountains, which I've decided to stay and keep in one area. Rather than bringing it a little extra to the grasses, I've put a little bit of warmth, perhaps a sand or some other light here, but also that movement, the shape of the dog brings us to the movement of the light. At the same time, overall, we've got a lovely oval composition as well. So I'm going to stop at that. I hope you enjoyed watching me, and you might want to play a little bit with a sponge and some small and different size brushes. Give it a go. Thank you very much for tonight.